No. That's funny. Whoop. Hello? Hello?
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Louisville School Division Board of Trustees for April 21st, 2026. I want to begin, unfortunately, on a sad note. There was recently a staff member of the Louisville School Division community who passed away. And our colleagues at Prairie Rose School Division are also navigating the loss of a student due to a very tragic accident. So we send our thoughts, our prayers, our condolences to anyone who has been impacted by either of these events. And I would ask that you stand as you are able for a moment of silence. Thank you. Tonight we are gathering on Treaty 1 territory in Manitoba traditional lands of the Anishinaabe and Inuit, Dakota and Dene peoples and the homeland of the Red River Métis. We also honor the source of Winnipeg's drinking water, Shoal Lake 40 First Nation, and the treaty territories that generate and provide our electricity. It's very important to actively oppose the intolerance and inequity perpetuated against Indigenous peoples and communities. And our board, our senior leadership team and our school division recognize that reconciliation requires ongoing commitment and action. It is a journey of listening, of learning, of building respectful relationships, where we strive to create a more just and equitable future together, and all of that takes place in LRSD. So welcome to those of you that are in the room and are going to join us shortly, and anybody joining us online. Just to let you know that we do record the meetings to ensure that the minutes that we share with our community are accurate. We also have a 15-minute question period before, at the beginning of our meeting, and also one at the end of the meeting. Ask any questions for clarification about items that are on our agenda. If you have questions outside that, you can certainly reach out to your trustees or via email to info@lrsd.net. Our vision is for all members of our community to excel as caring, confident, capable, and resilient lifelong learners who contribute to a democratic and sustainable world. And our mission is to provide a safe, inclusive, and engaging environment where personal and collective learning are valued and each one of us reaches our full potential. First item of business is to approve the agenda for our meeting this evening. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Trustee Bjornson, Trustee Simoniola. Any questions on the agenda? All those in favor?
Trustee Kolachuk in favor.
Thank you. Any opposed? And the motion is carried. Thank you. Approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting from April 7th. Those were circulated in advance. I've heard no errors were made or omissions that need to be corrected, and so we will accept those as they were distributed and archive them accordingly. We have public question period at the beginning of our meetings now for related to questions on decision items on the agenda. So for this evening, that would be anything related to policy motions in item 8 and regarding the balanced school day in item 10. So knowing that there's a second question period at the end of the meeting, I'll just open the floor for folks in the room or online to ask any questions of clarification on those two items at this point. Hearing none, we'll move on to news. First from the Board of Trustees, provided by Trustee Bjornson tonight.
Yes, thank you, Trustee Nemeth. Bit of a quick list of things that I had the privilege to attend, starting with the Illuminating Hope Canadian Museum of Human Rights. There were several administrators at the LRSD table. Main fundraising event for the Joy Smith Foundation, which is an advocacy and education organization supporting victims of human trafficking. It was clearly a very somber event with very powerful and memorable speakers. The organization develops a number of resources for teachers, parents, and students ranging from knowing the signs to prevent children from being exploited, to recognizing the dangers of social media, parenting tips for online safety, etc. So it was a very powerful night. Since my last report, I've taken advantage of the opportunity to participate in the school visits with leadership team, and I've really appreciated that opportunity, especially as a fairly new trustee visiting the schools both in and outside of Ward 3. It's been very interesting and informative. I have an appreciation for these schools and their communities and their unique challenges and opportunities. And I also have had the opportunity to meet both former students who have begun their teaching careers in LRSD, as well as current students in our school. An added bonus to connect with those students. Had the opportunity to attend the drumming performance at Highbury School with Trustee Sigurdsson. We enjoyed a hearty stew and bannock and listened to a couple of drum performances. Attended the CGS School Community Council meeting that same night with Trustee Nemeth, and they have a very active council. And with our presentation tonight with the student advocacy, it's great to have a student representative on the council. Her report is submitted at the time. More recently, I've had the opportunity to visit schools in Ward 3. April 7th, Trustee Nemeth and Assistant Superintendent Gunther visited Minnetonka, where we enjoyed a student-led tour, science demonstration on how to make a lava lamp. And I won't mention that we knocked over the lava lamp, Trustee Nemeth. I won't mention that at all. Oh, pardon me. But
Oops.
and there was also poetry that had been submitted through a program with Habitat for Humanity, and one of the authors read both of those poems. They were really powerful pieces that presented. April 14th with Trustee Nemeth and Assistant Superintendent Gunther, we visited T.W. Penner, where we had another excellent school-led student-led tour. Highlights included a demonstration of one of the hands-on science projects, which you see on the screen, where students had built a hydraulics lift. And as it would lift, emptying syringes and filling the syringes, little googly eyes were full automation there. Animation. It was a very neat project. I don't recall building those when I was in school. As you move further down, another highlight included a fundraising initiative where a class was selling unique planter pots to raise funds for a garden, outdoor classroom project. A student both confidently and enthusiastically explained the sale and the importance of the benefit of the funds raised. These Playmobil pots include a watering indicator, as she explained. If the eyes are brown, you need to add water. If the eyes are blue, there's water. There's only 30 pots available for $30 each. So if that's something that you would like to purchase, I would suggest you contact the school very quickly. Students also produced a commercial to promote the sale as well. On my next slide, I did forewarn my colleague that another part of school visits that I enjoy is looking at the graduating class photos. I did tell Trustee Palmquist that when I do this for me in Gimli High School, they started in a black and white set. So that was always fun. And I realized when I submitted this, right after I submitted it, that I put in a reminder that there's Arts in Action. That, of course, was this past weekend. I happened to see Trustee at that event as well. I'm hoping that the opportunity to attend. Managed to take several pictures for Facebook post regarding all the incredible artwork that our students had on display there. I'm a big fan and supporter of arts education, and Music Month now is returning to the Manitoba Legislature, and I'm excited to see its return starting in April of 2005. This initiative. I've always valued and appreciated music education, and my 3 children have all benefited from the music education programs in LRSD. And it's a great way to highlight and celebrate music education in Manitoba. I know that the list had been sent with the invitation for us to attend, possibly Legend Sauvé, Nicole Howden, and Benlon are presenting on 20th and 27th. That is when the sounds in the legislature are very harmonious. I can't speak to the chamber, but the photo credit to the Winnipeg Free Press from 2006. I'd like to close by saying that I've always believed that the health of the community is reflected in the arts in the community. Certainly have a very healthy school communities in LRSD, but the arts programs that support and continue to see thrive in our school district. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Thanks for highlighting all that. You've been busy over the last little while. That's great. Thank you for sharing. News from the senior leadership team this evening from Assistant Superintendent Capel.
Thank you, Chair. It's my honor to bring updates for some great work happening across the Dakota Collegiate and Nelson McIntyre Collegiate family of schools. We're going to start with Archwood. They had a celebration of learning and culture on March 24th, where the goal was to bring community in to share, learn, and connect. The event was designed as an open house style evening where students led classroom activities to showcase their learning, while shared spaces highlighted the diverse cultures represented at Archwood. Families were invited to participate in ways that felt meaningful and comfortable for them, including sharing stories, traditions, recipes, and food, cultural items, or contributing to displays in the gym. The celebration emphasized connection, belonging, and the importance of honoring student and family voice as part of learning, while strengthening homeschool relationships within the Archwood community. Great job, Archwood. And then we're going to move on to, some more pictures there. We're going to move on to Dakota Collegiate and their Learning with the Land on an eco-adventure tour in Costa Rica. 33 students recently participated in a structured educational eco-adventure experience in Costa Rica. The trip was designed to support experiential learning, environmental stewardship, cultural understanding, and personal growth. Don't know how they got away with this one, but a key focus was relationship building, teamwork, and personal reflection, and disconnection from technologies during this time. One student, Rain, shared that we really built a family through going through hard situations together and learning how to ask for help instead of feeling embarrassed. She also noted that the experience encouraged gratitude, explaining that being without technology helped her appreciate what you have and not take it for granted. Rain highlighted the lasting impact of the experience, sharing that the traditions and teachings resonated strongly with her own cultural values and would influence how she thinks about her future. Continuing on to the next slide. This learning focused on sustainable living and environmental responsibility within the Costa Rican rainforest. The Fonseca family welcomed students into their community and shared teachings centered on living in harmony with the land. Students participated in hands-on experiences that included a traditional sweat lodge ceremony, swimming in the Severde River, preparing a traditional Costa Rican meal, and learning about medicinal plants, and engaging in physically and mentally challenging activities such as waterfall rappelling and tree climbing. And on the last slide here for Dakota, the second phase of the trip, students participated in a variety of adventure and cultural activities designed to further develop confidence, resilience, and a willingness to take healthy risks. These activities included rainforest hiking, zip lining, salsa dancing, and surfing. Grade 12 student Quinton reflected and shared about the waterfall experience, that it was challenging myself to make it all the way down. Definitely helped build my confidence and show me that I'm capable of more than I think. Reflecting on what he would take home, Quinton noted that the experience encouraged him to continue pushing beyond his comfort zone and to not hold myself back from trying new things. Overall, it provided students meaningful learning opportunities beyond the classroom through cultural immersion, environmental education, and personal challenge. Students strengthen their sense of community, confidence, and global citizenship. Hastings School 2026 Parent Conference took place in the form of Hastings STEAM Fest, a celebration of science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. Rather than traditional conference appointments, families were invited to join the school for an interactive evening focused on student learning and creativity. Hastings STEAM Fest took place on Tuesday, March 24th from 4 to 7. And families had the opportunity to participate in learning exhibitions that showcase student thinking, problem solving, and creativity, engage with their child around their own creations and projects, sharing in that learning and the excitement of learning, explore exhibitions and displays throughout the school alongside the families. I had the opportunity to stop by and was greeted by some amazing students, and Hastings should be really proud of that day. Upon entry, families received a STEAM Fest program and passport as they visited different exhibition spaces. They received a passport to get stamped at each location. Completed passports were entered for a door prize draw. In addition to student learning exhibitions, we hosted a variety of community and enrichment booths. There's a couple more pictures there. That picture there is the passport. And so the challenge was to finish that up and a couple more pictures. Now we're on to Highbury School, Indigenous learning through drumming. Over the past several months, grade 5-6 students at Highbury School have participated in ongoing drumming experiences and Indigenous learning. They engaged in drumming as practice that supports listening, reflection, and community while learning about Indigenous ways of knowing. The learning initiative has been supported by Tammy Bruce, who is a community liaison worker with Indigenous academic support, by contributing to consistent and meaningful engagement for students, and by music teacher Julian Hockman, who has collaborated alongside students, integrating the teachings into weekly music classes to support ongoing practice, reflection, and connections between classroom learning and culture. A variety of Indigenous teachings were shared, including the importance of cleansing, respect, connection, and community. These teachings have supported students in developing an understanding of Indigenous perspectives and have contributed to relationship building within the school. This learning will extend beyond the classroom through a community feast on the March 24th conference evening with drumming alongside J.H. Bruns and grade 5-6 students, and sharing learning within the broader community. Highbury School expresses gratitude for the opportunity and for the support of Tammy Bruce and Julian Hockman-Berard in supporting Indigenous learning through music and community engagement. Nelson McIntyre Collegiate, there's a few here. Grade 12 students at Nelson McIntyre had the opportunity to make ribbon skirts in preparation for the graduation powwow. Led by Indigenous education teacher Tricia Wilson. Through this learning, students are creating their own ribbon shirts and skirts to wear at the LRSD graduation powwow. This experience honors Indigenous teachings, supports cultural identity, and allows students to mark their graduation in a respectful and meaningful way. And then the Angling Club, I did a report last time I spoke about the marrying students and the mentorship involved in the Angling Club. Focused on land-based learning and relationship building. There was a grant that allowed the school to acquire fishing equipment, allowing students to spend time on the land learning about fishing, local territory, and Indigenous perspectives. These experiences promoted hands-on learning, wellness, and connection to land and community. And then next up from Nelson Mac, The NMC Thrive mural is a collaborative student mural that captures student voice, belonging, and well-being. The project was featured at the Westcast Conference at the University of Winnipeg as an example of student-centered practice. Soon to be installed in the school foyer, the mural serves as a visual reminder of NMC's commitment to ensuring all students have opportunities to thrive and to flourish. Races Against Racism happened on the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. And it's a group that brought awareness and building initiatives and recognition of the International Day of the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. Their work encouraged reflection, dialogue, and collective responsibility to challenge racism and strengthen equity and inclusion within the school community. Spain travel experience, students from Nelson Mac also participated in a cultural travel experience to Spain, focused on culinary learning. Through food, cooking, and shared experience, students explored connections between culture, land, and identity, building global awareness and appreciation for learning through place and food traditions. And Go Torchbearers, well, they fell a little bit short in the AAA provincial finals. The game came down to overtime and a 1-point win. We couldn't be more proud of that team who went out there and gave it their all, and always hard to lose in overtime, but I think upon reflection, we're gonna be really proud of that accomplishment. Victor Major School, accessibility, school improvements and capital upgrades. To support work through a MYSP Strategic Action 4.1 over the last couple of months, multiple projects and capital upgrades have been completed at Victor Major. The addition of a welcoming and accessible ramp at the front entrance of the school, with the support of the Universal Nutrition Program, have also opened a community kitchen space. The kitchen space is used to feed up to 200 students a day at Victor Major and for student and community cooking program. 2 hand washing stations and new cabinets for community programming spaces, and 3 portable bleachers and safety mats for when they are in storage for seating in our gymnasium. The bleachers will provide comfortable and accessible seating for over 100 people for school and community events. And we would like to extend a big thank you to City Councillor Brian Mays, the Louis-Riel School Division, and the school board for support on these improvement projects. And if I may, I would just like to end by saying it's a true privilege to serve in a role that keeps me closely connected to our schools. Each visit reaffirms what I know to be true, and that is that our schools are places where extraordinary things are happening every single day. Our schools are places of vibrant, joyful places of discovering, belonging, and learning. And every time I visit a school, I leave so inspired by the folks who make these schools the places they are. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you to both of you for bringing the division into the room tonight and sharing some of the things that are going on. It's impossible for us to be at all of them. So this is the next best thing, and we value the time that's invested in that. Item number 5 is presentations to the board. We've received a request from a couple of students to appear before the board, and we are very pleased to have them in attendance tonight. Through the superintendent to Assistant Superintendent Anderson to do some introductions, please.
Okay, thank you. Well, this evening I have the pleasure of introducing Lydia Weir and Helen Kirshner, grade 5 students at École Montégagnon. They're joined this evening by their teacher, Madame Shelby Magnifico, and Vice Principal, Madame Menson. And earlier this evening, you spoke of the vision in our school division for all members of our community to excel as caring, confident, capable, and resilient lifelong learners who contribute to a democratic and sustainable world. These students are going to show you that that happens in grade 5 already. And their presentation this evening is about why students should be able to vote for school trustee.
Pourquoi les élèves devraient être capables de voter pour les commissaires scolaires?
Why students should be able to vote for school trustees.
Présenté par Helen Kirshner.
A Libby Weir.
Qui a le droit de voter maintenant? N'importe quel citoyen de Winnipeg qui a 18 ans ou plus, qui habite dans le quartier électoral sur le jour des élections et dans le territoire de la division scolaire depuis 6 mois ou au moins, au moins 6 mois ou depuis au moins 6 mois peut voter pour les commissaires. Ce n'est pas juste les gardiens des étudiants et des personnes associées avec des salaires. Mais les étudiants qui ont moins que 18 ans ne peuvent pas voter, même s'ils sont affectés par les décisions des commissaires.
Who gets to vote now? Any Winnipeg citizen over 18 years old who has lived in the ward on election day and has been a resident of LRSD for 6 months or more can vote for who becomes school trustee in their ward. It is not a requirement to be a guardian of students or associated with LRSD. However, students under 18 years old cannot, though they are the most affected by the decisions made by school trustees.
Pourquoi c'est important pour nous? Nous, comme étudiants, sommes directement affectés par les décisions des commissaires. À cause de cela, on pense que les élèves devraient avoir le droit de voter pour les personnes qu'ils pensent pour améliorer notre division et notre système scolaire.
Why this is important to us. We as students are directly affected by the decisions made by school trustees. Therefore, we think students in LRSD should be able to vote for who they think will accomplish the most, make the division better, and improve our school system.
Comment nous pensons que ça devrait être? Nous pensons que les élèves de la DSLR devraient avoir le droit de voter dans les élections des commissaires. Ça peut causer des problèmes. Alors, nous pensons que les écoles peuvent avoir des programmes pour que les enfants ne soient pas influencés par les adultes. Dans ce programme, les enfants seront éduqués à propos des candidats.
How we think it should be. We think students in LRSC should be able to vote in school trustee elections. This may bring up problems. So we think that there should be voting programs in schools so kids are not influenced by adults. Students should be educated on voting and taught how to research the candidates.
Qui nous soutient? Nous sommes supportés par 160 plus personnes qui ont signé notre pétition dans l'esprit de donner des droits de voter aux étudiants dans les élections des commissaires. Les élèves qui ont signé sont de la 4e à la 8e année, mais on a aussi plusieurs signatures d'enseignants, auxiliaires et concierges.
Who supports us? We are supported by 160 plus people who signed the petition and hope to give students voting rights in school trustee elections. The students who signed range from 4th to 8th grade, but we also have many teachers, educational assistants, and custodians who signed.
Qui nous soutient visuel? Voici plusieurs pages qui ont été signées par des personnes en soutien de notre pétition.
Who supports us? Visuals. Here are a few pages signed by people in support of our petition.
La fin.
The end.
Nous accepterons maintenant des questions.
Now we will be accepting questions.
Well, first of all, bravo. You've put a lot of work into this, and I bet you there's lots of questions around the table. I just want to set up the room a little bit for you. So trustees, for the most part, have trustee on their signs. The rest of the folks in the room are work at the board office at various levels. We have executive assistants here, but we also have our superintendent, our secretary treasurer, our director of information technology, and our assistant superintendents. So there's a lot of interested folks in the room. Many of them also speak French. So I'm going to encourage you, if you have questions for our guests and would like to pose them in French, because any opportunity that you get to practice is a good one. And let's see where it goes. So who has some questions that they would like to pose to our guests? Trustee Bjornson.
Je parle un petit peu, quelques petit peu aussi, mais pendant que vous parlez très vite, je ne comprends pas. I discovered that's a useful sentence. Skills for French, but I have to start by saying that was a fantastic presentation. And I used to teach high school, and we talked about voting and the importance of voting. Reality is only 55 to 60% of people show up to vote. So I think having more people engaged in voting is really important. My question is, did you come up with this idea on your own, or is this something that your group decided would be for?
It was mostly Lily's idea. She just came up to me and asked if I would like to work with her, and I agreed.
Oh,
So
very good.
that's a question for you.
Yes, I came up with it on my own. My parents reminded me that that there was an election this year, and I thought it was unfair that adults get to make decisions about our learning program, even though we're affected by it, and we can't decide who gets to make those decisions. Decide on who gets to make those decisions.
Thank you, Trustee Semignola.
My French is not very good, but not very good. I mean, I know bonjour and that's it. But I want to say, hey, first of all, congratulations. Coming up, put an idea and coming out here and having do a presentation. It's not easy for anybody. And I hope that in a few years to come, we'll see your names on the ballot, and I don't doubt that we will. I guess my more of a question for you guys is, well, no, maybe not a question, more of a suggestion is that I hope you won't stop at presenting to us. I hope I'll see you in the paper that you are at the legislature building and talking to different as well.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Trustee Walker?
Thank you two very much for coming up to speak tonight. I'm sorry I'm not speaking in French. I don't feel confident enough doing it on YouTube. I was very pleased when you knocked on my door, Helen, and asked me to sign it. Happy to sign it. I was, as Trustee Bjornson mentioned, there are a lot of adults that don't go out to vote. And I think it's great that the two of you are talking to your classmates about it so they understand the importance of it. And I was curious to know if you had a suggested age minimum. You know, what age do you think kids should be able to come out and vote?
We discussed this, and our age minimum is 7 because they can read, and if they were taught, I think they would understand the concept of a school system.
Other questions? Trustee Palmquist?
Merci pour votre présentation et très bien, bon travail. I wanted to maybe suggest that I know that during federal and provincial elections, it's normal for the different parties to have it reported on what students voted for them. And sometimes those election results for students are similar to the way adults voted, and sometimes they're very different. And maybe it would be, you know, as a start, it might be, might have a duty to come and present our what we want to see and our proposals and our ideas and talk about ourselves to students to begin with, alongside the adults that we're hoping to get votes from in order to weigh your support as well. It might involve a bit of change of rules though, because I got my wrist slapped at one point for showing up at a community barbecue at a school during the last election in my campaigning for election capacity. But I would love to, I'm sure my colleagues as well would love to come and present some of our ideas to students.
Thank you. Any other questions? Trustee Kolachuk?
Tu as parlé français très bien. Je suis fière pour voir quelques personnes comme toi pour, parler des commissaires puis être intéressé avec ça. So, continue. Qu'est-ce que tu fais? Puis, c'est très, très bien.
Merci.
Anybody else?
Moi aussi, je veux vous féliciter pour la présentation bilingue. C'est très beau. Saviez-vous que dans certaines classes, les élèves ont une place à la table?
Dans Ontario. je
Oui.
crois.
Yeah, very good. So maybe that could be the next move. Advancing what we see in other parts of the world where students actually have a seat at the table.
Trustee Sigurdsson?
Oui, pardon mon français. Pensez-vous que les élèves votent dans les écoles? Should they vote in the schools or with the regular voters in the
schools.
schools? C'est bien, merci.
Parce que les élèves, parce que on veut que les élèves, parce qu'on veut que les élèves peuvent voir comme les autres élèves voter pour les commissaires et c'est comme communauté.
Très bien.
Okay. Questions? Anybody else? Rest of the team? Great, seeing none, just a couple of things for you. I think I heard somebody allude to our student advisory board who is actually presenting next and who I think is a natural path for you. So I would encourage you to talk to your teachers, talk to your school principal or vice principal about what it looks like. We have a provincial association. It's the Manitoba School Boards Association, and all of the school boards in the province are members of that group. And I think they would be very intrigued with your presentation. So if you have a copy that you can leave behind, we will make sure that it gets to them, and so that the executive director and the executive can see and just see the kinds of conversations that students are having and that they're coming to their trustees with. So if you've got a copy you can leave, or if you want to send one electronically, whatever works best for you. And I think in wrapping up, I want to thank you for a couple of things. We don't often see students come in this room, but student voice, capturing student voice is very important to us. And I'm not sure if you were nervous at all tonight. It sure didn't show, but you've done something pretty remarkable, and you should both be extremely proud of yourselves. And when you go back to your school, you've done some really important work, which is to remind the adults in the room that our students have thoughts and ideas and wishes and hopes. I mean, we have them for you too, but sometimes, as you've reminded us, it's really important that we hear from you what they are, and that we encourage you to pursue what you believe should be happening by way of expanding your voice and using it to make choices for yourself. So I thank you very much. Keep doing what you're doing. And somebody alluded to maybe you coming back before us again in a different capacity down the road as you grow and flourish on your own. And we hope that to be the case. So thank you very much. Have a really nice evening.
Merci.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is our student advisory board, which is here to have a conversation and present some information to us as they do on an annual basis. And so through the superintendent to Assistant Superintendent Kapeluk, who's going to do some introductions for us.
Right on. Well, we are going to continue with students engaging as active citizens in a democratic society and responsible members of a global community. I am super pleased to introduce some members of our student advisory board. These are students from grade 9 to 12, representing all of LRSD's high schools. And I would also like to make mention to Ms. Rose Packatan and Ms. Rose Bird, along with Mr. Sean Oliver, have been really working alongside the students and really helping to build a community there. This year's mandate has been how we connect with each other, how we build relationships with each other, and how we share pieces of us. That's one part. We want to educate ourselves, we want to learn. That's part two. And part three is an advocacy. How do we use our voice to make the difference in the world that we want to live in one day? And, you know, similar with these students from Henri Bergeron, students can be our greatest teachers. And I am just thrilled to be able to work alongside these students on a regular basis. And in an effort of time saving, each student will present their name and their school before they begin the presentation. And I am really excited about this. So thank you so much for being here.
Hi everyone, my name is Afsa Salami. I'm from Nelson McIntyre Collegiate and I will be talking about who we are as a student division. The Student Advisory Board consists of students from different backgrounds, which allows us to bring different perspectives and ideas together. This diversity helps us understand the needs of our school and community. During our meetings, we focus on important issues within our school. Like many students in a class to one teacher, it becomes overwhelming for a teacher to have many students in a class, and each student doesn't get as much attention as they need. We focus on finding ways to improve our environment for everyone. Talking about racism, bullying, we also take time to learn about Indigenous governance, which help us understand leadership, responsibility, and community values of the Indigenous peoples of the past and how it has changed over the years. We celebrate our achievements and the progress we make as a group. We also plan to support events that help bring schools together. Overall, our goal is to make and create a space where students feel safe, heard, and supported, while working together to make our school a better place. Thank you.
Bonjour et merci de nous avoir invités. Je m'appelle Madden et je suis une élève en 10e à Collège Jeune-Sauvé. Aujourd'hui, je vais vous parler au sujet d'un des événements que nous avons pu faire cette tournée du palais législatif, ainsi que faire une table ronde avec le ministre de l'Éducation et plusieurs autres ministres. Pour certains de nos membres, c'était même la première fois que nous avons pu entrer dans le bâtiment du palais législatif, et donc la tournée est une façon formidable de pouvoir apprendre plus au sujet de l'histoire du bâtiment, ainsi que toutes les merveilles architecturales qui sont uniques à ce bâtiment. Nous avons aussi pu traverser l'Assemblée et apprendre plus au sujet du processus, au sujet des lois et comment ils sont faits, écrits, et quels sont nos rôles comme élèves et comme personnes au Manitoba. La table ronde que nous avons faite a favorisé une discussion collaborative au sujet de nos propres pensées, nos opinions et nos questions que nous avons pour les ministres. Je sais que je parle pour plusieurs des membres quand je dis qu'il m'a inspiré personnellement et que j'ai pu apprendre comment je peux faire une différence et comment je peux exprimer mes sentiments et mes pensées politiques. Je vais vous laisser avec le message que plusieurs dans les ministres ont nous laissé et comme comité que nous avons centré plusieurs de nos actions et nos gestes comme comité. Et c'était vas-y le faire, s'impliquez-vous. Merci.
Hi everyone, my name is Princess Akinzu. I'm from the best school in Louisville School Division, if not the whole Manitoba, Nelson McIntyre Collegiate.
Hi everyone, my name is Ariayo Oluwajao from Nelson McIntyre Collegiate, and I'm in grade 10.
One of the most impactful learning experiences we had this year was working with Indigenous educators Rosemary Bird and Sean Oliver. Through this, we explored Indigenous systems of governance, and more importantly, it challenged how we think about leadership and decision-making. One of the biggest takeaways was the relationship to land. Land is not seen as something to own, but something to be in relationship with. This idea shifts leadership from power to responsibility, especially when decisions are being made with future generations in mind.
The Indigenous governance in Canada is a living system rooted in balance, responsibility, and connection to the land. In many Indigenous cultures, women played central leadership roles, guiding decisions and preserving knowledge through matrilineal traditions.
We also learned that many Indigenous communities prioritize consensus over a majority rule. This means decisions happening through collective dialogue, agreement, and valuing every voice and building unity rather than division.
Unlike Canada's government, which relies on written laws and majority rule, Indigenous governance focuses on relationship, consensus, and long-term well-being. However, colonization, especially through the Indian Act, disrupted this system by imposing government.
We also recognize the impact of colonization, like Yuri said, which disrupted many of these systems. However, an important takeaway is that these systems continue today to exist, adapt, and stay relevant in today's society.
Today, reconciliation efforts are working to address these harms, but they require real action and inclusion of Indigenous voices. Indigenous governance teaches us that leadership is not about control, but responsibility and learning. And by learning from their systems, we can move towards a more inclusive and new sustainable approaches to governance in the future.
For us, this learning, we find it relevant to the work of trustees. It highlights the importance of listening to diverse voices, thinking long-term, and ensuring that decisions truly reflect the communities they serve. Because ultimately, governance is not just something about making decisions, it's about responsibility, relationships, and those who decisions are being made for. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Haley Barragan. I'm also from Nelson McIntyre. I am in grade 10. It is my pleasure to be with you tonight as I share how our advisory board meetings looks like. In our advisory board meetings, we don't just start with the work. We begin each meeting by eating a meal together and introducing ourselves. This is a smart choice because it helps us build trust. It is more than just a social time. It makes the room feels less like a classroom and more like a team. By eating together, we create a space where everyone's voice is equally important. This ensures that when we start the hard work, we are working as a trusted team of partners, not just a group of strangers. This leads directly to us setting a collaborate tone. We make sure the environment is a safe place for every voice. During this time, we set rules for our group that encourage everyone to speak up. We want people to share their ideas respectfully, even when they disagree. A successful partnership works because everyone understands their special job. In our meetings, we define our roles clearly. The students are the experts of what the school life is like right now. The teachers are facilitators who help our ideas reach the right people in the district. By having a clear purpose from the start, we make sure our time is spent on meaningful work that truly helps all the students. Once we have built our professional rapport, we focus on having real conversations. We do more than just ask and answer simple questions. Instead, students and staff talk as equal to share their real school experience. This creates a two-way street where everyone learns. This learning becomes even stronger when guest trustees join our meetings. When they join our circle, students learn how the board makes big decisions, and trustees hear the truth about what is happening in our classrooms. We listen carefully and summarize our ideas to make sure everyone is. This way, we can work together to find the best solution for our school. The goal of our partnership is shared learning and design. This is part of our meetings where we talk all different ideas and turn them into a clear plan. We move past just sharing stories and start working together to find blind spots, the problems that one group might see but the other might miss. This is learning everyone for working together. This is a learning experience for everyone. Students learn how the board makes big decisions, and trustees learn what it is actually like to be a student today. By learning from each other, we create shared share wisdom. This ensures that we aren't just talking about problems, but are building the knowledge we need to make our school community better for everyone. Thank you for your time and for listening to me. Our advisory board is more than just a meeting. It is a true partnership. By eating together, sharing our points of view, and learning from one another, we ensure that every student's voice is here and valued. We are proud of our work we do, and we look forward to continue this collaboration to make our school and community better for everyone.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Rabia, and just like my colleague said, I'm also from the best school in Manitoba, Nelson McIntyre Collegiate. So I'm here to talk about culture and how we involve community within our school and our school division. One of the ways we supported local businesses through our student advisory meetings activities was by engaging with local and cultural food vendors. We highlighted culturally diverse food options that reflect the different backgrounds within our school community across Canada. This helped ensure that our school choices were not only supporting small businesses, but also reflecting the identity and cultures of the student we represent. It was important for us to recognize that something as simple as food selection can carry meaning. It can support families, strengthen local economies, and promote inclusion within our school environment. Through this experience, we learned that when everyday school decisions can have a real positive impact on both community connection and representation. Small decisions in schools can create meaningful community impact. Thank you.
Okay, I'm back. A quick show of hands, who likes food here? Like, if you like food, if you eat food, just like a quick show of hands. Yeah, everyone's foodie, like, just like me. Okay, so as part of our commitment to celebrating culture, we focus on something universal, food. As a committee, members were invited to recommend foods from their own culture, such as jollof rice, bannock, naan, samosa chaat, and puff puff, to ensure representation within what we shared. One of the highlights, if I speak for the group, which I am, is food. We all love food. Like, we don't want to hear the message. We just want to eat food. I'm kidding. One of the highlights of our meetings has always been food itself. It's a simple moment, but it consists of a sense of connection and enjoyment. A guiding idea for us was that meaningful cultural appreciation begins with understanding and respecting our own identities first. In many ways, connection to others is strengthened when people feel grounded in who they are. Food reflects that very well because it is both personal and shared across all cultures. It carries identity, history, and tradition, that it's something that everyone can engage with. Rather than treating culture as something distant or formal, this approach made it visible in a simple and authentic way, ensuring that different voices within our community were acknowledged. Ultimately, it reminded us that cultural appreciation does not always have to be something complex. Sometimes it is most powerful when it is embedded in everyday experiences, like food, that naturally brings people together. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brandon Newells. I go to Glenlawn Collegiate and I'm in grade 11. I want to talk about an event that happened here in Manitoba, the One Manitoba Youth Summit. This was an event that majority of our board members attended. And this event was important to push for Indigenous advocacy. It addressed systemic barriers in education, including inequities faced by Indigenous students. Many stories were shared to us, including a story from Wapkanu. This challenged us to think about what a certain group of students face on a daily basis at school and in their daily lives. Indigenous youth voices were elevated by given space to talk to our very own MLAs. The MLA that I got to talk to was Robert Lizelle. He encouraged us and challenged us to think about what it means to live in a healthy and safe community in the future. We went over the respect of Indigenous peoples, culture, and traditions, pushing for understanding and eventually following with them. We focused on shifting awareness into action with truth and reconciliation, not just it being a few words, but rather being it something that is in our everyday lives. The One Manitoba Youth Summit was not only just pushing for Indigenous advocacy, but it was pushing for Indigenous connection and people connection all throughout Manitoba. We were able to get schools from the north, from just outside of the city, and from inside the city to connect and all learn and grow from each other. Finally, we fostered, this event fostered a sense of belonging for every single student, showing that their voices matter and that they will be heard. It is extremely important for our youth to push for this advocacy as we're the next future of our province, and we will continue to do so. Our advisory board is looking for hope to push change for Indigenous peoples and culture here in Manitoba, really pushing the action, not just awareness and truth and reconciliation. Thank you.
My name is Afsas Salavi. I'm from Nelson McIntyre Collegiate.
I'm Yuvi. I'm in grade 10 at Dakota Collegiate.
And I'm Rabia from Nelson McIntyre Collegiate.
Interactive Election Forum was a collaborative and engaging experience that involved cooperation with between different parties, active participation from students. It included realistic elements such as voting, clerk posts, ministers, and organized roles that helped simulate a real election process. Students worked together, shared ideas, and respected different perspectives while learning how elections work. This experience confidently develops a better understanding of teamwork, leadership, and importance of voicing opinion. This could help with decision-making. The activity was both educational and interactive, allowing everyone to take part in a meaningful and hands-on way.
All right. The second, I would say, main part of forum was institutional visits. As you'll see in the slideshow, the top two pictures are in the Senate of Canada and the bottom left is the House of Commons. So a big part of, like I said, forum was visiting key government institutions within Ottawa that are essential to Canadian democracy. This included, like mentioned, the Senate, the House of Commons, Rideau Hall, or the home of the Governor General, the National War Memorial, etc. We met many government officials at our time there, from which we learned about various government processes and democratic procedures. And we spoke with them in informal settings as well. And so it was a really great experience to get to learn from these educated people who are actually the adult change makers in our country. And so getting to speak with them, getting to share our perspective, it was truly an invaluable experience.
While we were at Forum for Young Canadians, it's actually like a national event that they bring youth from across Canada together. We learn about civic engagements and how we can get involved in politics. One of the most impactful part of Forum for Young Canadians was the networking and informal learning. We connected with youth from across Canada. And through those conversations, we're able to share perspectives, experiences, and ideas that we may not have been otherwise able to. What stood out to us most was that the learning didn't only happen in sessions. It happened in conversations, collaborations, creativity, and also connection. These experiences didn't just stay within the forum. They created something bigger. They created a network of young people who are informed, engaged, and ready to lead change together. The forum didn't just connect us together. It builds a generation of leaders ready to impact and create change in our communities.
Hi everyone, my name is Olvina Nabiha. I'm in grade 10 and I'm from Dakota Collegiate. I'm here to talk about our experience with the LRSD Advisory Board with some familiar faces, the board chair, Sandy Nemeth, and the vice chair, Irene Nordheim. So the first thing we learned was about operations and governance and the difference between that. Governance basically talks about the policies, the budgets, and the long-term goals, while the operations bit is about the superintendent and the staff running day-to-day operations of the school. The second thing we learned about were some lessons and pieces of advice, such as collaboration instead of arguing, listening to all the different perspectives we have, and celebrating all the tiny successes we have. We were also encouraged to fulfill civic responsibilities of voting when eligible. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. My name is Camila Munoz. I am from Glenlawn Collegiate. I'm a student and athlete who is here to present about this amazing project that I am working for. Play Like a Girl. First of all, who we are and what are our goals. Play Like a Girl is a youth-led nonprofit program developed for high school girls inspired by the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We have 3 clear goals: to support, to empower, and to educate. Why is this program important in our LRSD? Well, this program is necessary to make sports and well-being accessible to young women who may feel intimidated about getting involved or who do not have easy access to sports and athletic development opportunities. What are we building? We're building a magazine for female athletes in our school division. This is a magazine created by girls, by high school students from all of our schools. And this magazine is going to be distributed at the Learning with Elan event on May 21st. As well, we're going to showcase art pieces from our students who represent women, who represent leadership, who represent girls playing. Who is supporting? Currently, the Winnipeg Newcomers Sports Academy is one of our biggest supports. As well, the Olympic athlete Kelsey Waugh, who is going to be part of our magazine and who's giving us an interview and the opportunity to have her in the cover of our magazine, as well as local stores such as Superstore, Subway, and Huddle Soul Center. Play Like a Girl, we believe that all of the girls in the LRSD should be playing regardless of the challenges that they might face. So we're going to try our best to keep the girls playing because it's an honor playing like a girl. Thank you.
Hi, so now I'm talking about Pride Month. Looking ahead to Pride Month 2026, our focus as the LRSD board is on continuing to strengthen an inclusive and respectful environment in all our schools across the school division. We want to build on the idea that inclusion is not just something we acknowledge, but something we actively practice. One of our main goals is to increase visibility and representation, ensuring that all students feel seen, valued, and reflected within the school environment. We also aim to promote greater awareness and understanding, helping students engage with different identities in ways that is thoughtful and respectful. In addition, we want to continue creating safe spaces and supportive spaces where students feel comfortable expressing who they are. Overall, this is about moving beyond a single month and working towards a school culture where inclusion is consistent, intentional, and ongoing. Because ultimately, a strong school community is one where every student feels genuine sense of belonging. Thank you.
Me again, yay. All right, I want to talk about something that I believe a lot of you will probably be interested in hearing about, student trustees. So some of you may remember, we came up here last year, that's actually a picture of us, he is in it. And yes, honorable mention, great person. And so we discussed having a seat at, well, these tables, right? Having a seat for youth on our board, whether voting or non-voting, is, I believe, all of us believe, very, very essential. This is something that has been practiced, I know, over in Ontario, as Trustee Palmquist mentioned last year, and over in the States as well, and with much success. And so that's something we're looking at currently implementing in our school division. At the time, we can only legally implement a non-voting seat. However, a voting seat is something that is a long-term goal. While that requires some change on a provincial level, we believe it is really, really impactful and really necessary to have a student who can have a voting seat at these tables. Because students, they're the people actually involved in classrooms. There's the people actually being influenced by the policy decisions made in this room. And so it is critical that they're involved in the policy-making decisions that happen as well. Next slide's also. Oh, yeah, me again. You're gonna get tired of my voice. Wonderful. Learning with the Land. This is an event I'm sure many of you would have heard of last year, that took place last year. This year, with the aid of Mr. Sean Oliver, one of our student support teachers, we're looking to have the Student Advisory Board involved. So it's a land-based learning event held at the Forks for LRSU students. And our goal as a student advisory, we're going to be hosting mini interviews. So we aim to go around the event, ask students what their experiences are, what they're learning from the event, and things that they're taking away. The goal is to promote the event and the education and awareness happening at such a central location and educate. I think that's a main part of it, right? Advocacy and connection that we talked about are some of our mandates this year. And so those are, I think, key central themes to this event and something we're really looking forward to being at.
This is not a time for the timid. It's a time for the daring. Let us dare to live greatly together. The Honorable Senator Murray Sinclair. Every decision made in this room and beyond this room shapes a student's experience. But the people most affected by those decisions are often the least included in making them.
Having a voice for us as students isn't just about speaking or being heard, but being understood. When students are given the real opportunity to share their ideas, they begin to build confidence and a stronger sense of self-worth, realizing their perspective matters. As their confidence grows, so does their willingness to participate and engage, not just in conversations, but in decisions that shape our daily experiences. These conversations shift from relying on one fixed perspective and become more meaningful and relevant as we reflect on what students actually need. By making a space for students to raise their voice, we're not just empowering individuals, we're making better, more informed decisions that create an environment where students can actually succeed. Thank you.
Student voice is not just about being heard, it's about being valued. And value means being present when those decisions are being made. We, the students, us, we're not asking to take over. We are just asking to be a part of the conversation and the decision making. Because nothing, absolutely nothing about students should ever be decided without students. Thank you so much for your time.
Did anybody have any questions before we move on with their evenings?
Trustees, what questions do you have? Trustee Bjornson and trustee Simon.
Thank you for the
Trustee Dorhan.
presentation. With the way things are in the world right now, it feels good to hear your voice. And just curious, have any of you applied for or intend to apply for youth parliament? Have you applied already? But you're applying? Very good, very good. Again, the two presentations from the students, absolutely fantastic. I appreciate you taking the time and your commitment to your voice being heard and leadership. Thank you.
Seminola?
Yeah, again, thank you so much for coming out here, doing this presentation. It always encourages me about what the future of this province, this country looks like when I see, the student advisory board come here and do a presentation like this and hearing all the great things that you're doing in the school community. I think it's fantastic, and don't stop, don't end it here. I think we've heard the two requests from what I've seen, which is about being a seat at the table and the voting seat at the table. And I think Raman acknowledged that it's more than just this group. There's another body as well that has to get involved in. My question is more for the people that joined this year that were not here last year. What surprised you the most about taking this role, and what have you learned from the time that you joined up to now that you're willing to share with the group that was like, I didn't think this is what I was gonna take out, but this is what I've learned? Anybody can answer.
Well, so I joined this year, and actually was a great experience because this is my first time being part of a group, and I really enjoy it because here we are practicing our social skills, and I'm improving, and I really love that. And our partnerships, the way we communicate each time when we have something to do, we communicate. We're always trying we're always trying to communicate, and without saying like with a good tone. Even if sometimes I'm here 2 years, almost 2 years in Canada, and it's been such a good experience being part of this group because I've been learning a lot, and I really appreciate that.
No, thank you so much. And it's great to hear a story like that, because as a person to share, when I came to Canada, I couldn't even speak English, but I was like, I have to be part of one of the United Nations debate, all the kind of stuff to make friends and grow. So I'm glad that this is providing that opportunity for some of you. And I wrote an article about the Student Advisory Board not too long ago, just the impact it has on learning and community. And it's really great to see that it's playing out in this way. So thank you.
Trustee Burhan?
First of all, thank you very much for coming tonight and for giving Sandy and I the opportunity to speak to you in a small group. That was a highlight. As you can see, stating the obvious, I'm old. And so I do want to say one thing, and that is how much I appreciate both groups of presenting how you came dressed so respectfully to speak to us. I know it's a small thing, but it makes a huge impression. And the fact that the two groups tonight were aligned in terms of what it is your goals are was pretty special, I think, to see people asking to have student voice in trustees, and the older statesmen saying, yeah, we want to be at the table. So those two things can combine pretty easily, I think. As Trustee Bjornson spoke about the Parliament opportunities here, I'm hoping that many of you will take a look at opportunities to become a page or in Manitoba or in the Senate in Ottawa, because I think you would bring a lot to the table. It's not a question, but I just have to tell you, you should put a bow on your head because you were a gift tonight. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Trustee Sigurdson?
Yes, thank you. Just blown away. It warms my heart. It's obviously our night for both presentations to see our engaged youth and to hear their voices. Very moving. It's quite amazing to see, and I'm very proud of all of you and all that you're doing. I was going to ask a question about the food, but I thought it would be frivolous, but then you mentioned it 3 more times. So I guess I can ask about the food now. But because that strikes me as something that's, it's so important, and breaking barriers and getting to know people and to just to exchange your culture. You're obviously a very diverse group, as you say in your handout as well. For your meetings, then you talked about you break bread, have food before your meetings begin. Is that do you each take turns bringing food from your own culture and then share and explain? And is that how it works?
What we typically do is like, if we have a meeting every month, like a few weeks before a meeting, someone would reach out to one of the roses. Right there.
2 roses, yes, I was gonna say.
And then, like you said, we're a really diverse group, so anyone who feels comfortable like recommending, foods, like the last meeting we had, I believe, I'm Nigerian, so 1, 2, 3, we recommended a Nigerian caterer to Ms. Rose, and she ended up ordering on behalf of the university fries. We got some puff puff, jollof fries, rice, stew, and a zobo. So yeah, the last time, I can't remember exactly when, but UV over here also recommended some Indian food, which was also displayed. So it's just whatever we feel comfortable with, like reaching out, because if we reach out to Ms. say no.
Okay, that's good. You also try to introduce, for the school-based events, you try to introduce the different types of foods for folks. Is that my understanding?
Yes.
That's wonderful. And again, continue, keep going in politics. Go to law school. Change the world. You get that piece of paper that people will appreciate. That's not the only way, obviously, but it's I recommend. Thanks again.
Trustee Palmquist?
Thanks everyone for their presentation tonight. I wanted to particularly acknowledge and thank you for the link that I sensed between your comments on the learnings about Indigenous forms of governance and the student trustee concept or proposal, particularly as it concerns your observations about consensus-based democracy and collaboration-based forms of decision-making, and thinking about those principles and how those are put into place as it relates to like the idea of a non-voting member here, and in terms of like what would be the impact and authority that person might have in this environment, and drawing together, like I can speak at least for myself in saying that if there were a non-voting member here that had a substantially different viewpoint on an important issue from what I had, even if that person didn't have the ability to change the outcome through their actions as an individual, I believe I'd be speaking for more than just myself when I'm saying that that voice and that perspective would be taken into serious consideration. And so I really appreciate the link between that and what you were learning as well about these forms of alternative forms of collaboration-based governance. And thank you very much for your contribution today, and I look forward to supporting that continuing work.
Trustee Walker?
Thank you. Thank you all for your presentation. Very good. I'm in awe of your engagement in changing the world. I encourage you to continue doing that as you grow. And I was just wondering, having had some younger students from our division come out tonight, if there might be opportunities for some mentorship between our high school students and our middle school students in the future, because we've got our next generation of high school students that might be coming forward to perhaps sit around the table with us in the future. I'd also like to thank all of the teachers for all the work you did, and parents. Dan, thanks for coming. I appreciate all the work that you folks do with our young people. And I was a grad from Nelson Mac. It was nice to see so many Nelson Mac.
Trustee Bjornson, you had a follow-up?
Yeah, sorry, usually I bring a pen and paper to write things down. I neglected to do that, but one of the things that came to mind is you can see by our agenda, it says a list of government to private members' bills currently under consideration. I'm not sure if you're aware, but you do have a voice at the table with legislation right now where you can look at all those bills and you could register with the clerk's office at the legislature. And you can go present to members of government, members of the opposition, and the minister or the private member bringing the bill forward to the legislature and tell them what you think about that bill. I've sat through those committee hearings before, and I was always impressed by young people who were engaged and came, some for school projects and marks, others because they were genuinely interested in making a difference and having their voice heard. So I would encourage you to take a look at those bills. It might mean sitting in the legislature on a hot day in May or June. I'm assuming it will be hot by then. Sitting in the chamber, or pardon me, in the committee rooms, presenting to politicians. Great opportunity for your voice to be heard.
Thank you. Mr. Superintendent, anything from you before we close?
Yes, well, I just want to acknowledge the leadership that's very present this evening. Both Ilan and Libby earlier, and all of you in high school. So although you know you're calling us to action, wanting a vote at the table, do know that we acknowledge the leadership you're already exercising. Your voice is already very loud and present in LRSD. But I agree, it should be at this table. I think it would only make it better.
On a final note, I'd just like to extend an invitation on behalf of the board. All of you are at any time welcome to the meetings. I'm sure Corey would be happy to set that up. So thank you, and we look forward to meeting you again soon.
I love how you're on a first name basis with Assistant Superintendent.
I work for you.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you, all of you. And certainly if you're bumping into any of us at the mall or at powwow or at, some of us will be at Learning on the Land for sure. Remind us that we've had this conversation. Tell us what you need more of and what you need less of, and keep those thoughts and ideas coming and challenge what we're doing. We've said it multiple times. We have a vested interest in your success and your educational experience, and the best way to do that is through conversation. So I wish you all a good night. Although you're welcome to stay, you're welcome back at our meetings anytime as well. And be well, all of you. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is chair information to the board. Woohoo! That's a hard act to follow. Those kids are amazing. You can, sure. Oh.
Yeah. Over here. I was like, are you?
So item 6.1 is related to the government and private members bills that are currently under consideration in the legislature. There are a number that have or could have direct impact to school divisions and to school boards. And so I'm just going to open the floor if there's any conversation to be had or observations to be made, or if trustees would perhaps want to consider that we inform the process in writing or by registering as a delegation. Anybody who wants to make an observation about any of these that are here? All right, seeing none so far, I'm just going to, sorry, Marcus, go ahead.
Actually, I did I wanted to start by saying, I think this is a great initiative. Whoever thought of this, putting these list of legislation on, this is a great idea. So bravo to whoever put this forward. I wanted to quickly ask about the School Bus Seatbelt Safety Act, because on reviewing the document, this was the first time I've heard that of the campaign of advocates for some time pushing for that, but this is I was not aware that that was actually coming forward, and I wanted to know if there are any, and so case in point, why this is so great as an agenda item. I just wanted to ask if there were any implications on that for our division or financially or otherwise, if that were to be adopted.
Well, Assistant Superintendent Anderson would be the one most involved in any implications. Stepped out momentarily. Hey, we would welcome any policy change, any legislation that would make our students safer on buses, and would welcome those investments. We'd make it happen.
I agree. It's great. I'm supportive as well. Just interested in some of the particulars, but no particular rush.
Like, yeah, I can't get into the
That's
details of its implications financially.
So the other bills mentioned, Bill 38, the Public Schools Amendment Act, and Manitoba School Boards Association Act speaks to bullying, artificial intelligence, and rewriting codes of conduct in that regard. There is Bill 51, the Public Sector Artificial Intelligence and Cybersecurity Governance Act, which might have implications, or which had implications in terms of policy development. School Bus Seatbelt Safety Act, we just talked about, the Highway Amendment Act, related to fines for passing a stopped school bus, Municipal Councils and School Boards Elections Act, regarding non-resident property owners' ability to vote, residency requirements for Elections Act that would reduce the time spent in a jurisdiction. There's also the Autism Strategy Act that is being brought forward and the Municipal Assessment Amendment Act. So all of these are available to be read in full on the government website under bills that are pending. I'm just going to take one more look around the room to see if there's anything in particular any trustees wanted to raise before we move on. All right. Item 6.2 is QP ratifications. So just to acknowledge here that the negotiations have concluded and contracts have been ratified between the school division and QP Locals 3473, the educational assistants, and QP Local 4642, clerical, technical, and custodial maintenance and bus drivers. So that is good news. It was a important, long but important process that required lots of conversation, and I would say thank you to Trustee Nordheim and Trustee Walker, as well as members of the senior team who participated in that process, sitting with the QP local delegates. Item 7 is senior leadership team information to the board, starting with the leadership team meeting on April 16th.
It'll be quick, I promise. Let's see, 30 seconds, start time. This is our monthly meeting with the leadership group, school and senior leaders. 3 highlights as Secretary Treasurer whips through the presentation. So it's all about our leadership learning. As always, project-based leadership learning that aligns with the MYSB. Real problems of practice that principals, vice principals, senior leaders are trying to figure out, leading to our leadership growth and some early evidence of impact on students and staff. And so a project fair is next. So readying ourselves to big project fair next May. Exciting. And maybe I'll have them over in June to share some of those projects. Second, treaty and Indigenous education. So we're participating in a provincial survey to help inform treaty education as a curriculum. Of course, in LRSD, treaty is about a lived experience. A multi-year strategic plan, it expresses itself, it manifests itself in so many ways. And connected to that, later in the afternoon, presented a new approach to accessing supports for next year. And so Assistant Superintendent Kaplik, presented a new acronym, ISBIEAP. A school-based Indigenous education action plan. So he's asking of school leaders that by June they actually have made explicit what their education action plan is as it relates to their Indigenous students, and that we go from there and hit the ground running in September. It's been well received. And so finally, third, data governance and AI. I'm kind of foreshadowing what comes next on the agenda. We talked about AI. AI is already here. So our job isn't to make it go away. It's to be stewards. Our stance in LRSD is co-pilot, not autopilot. AI supports thinking and efficiency. And so it really is about understanding that AI done well doesn't replace judgment and accountability. All of that stays human. So we walked through our guidelines that are still in draft, and the co-pilot agents we're building that essentially are built around guidelines around privacy, governance, and human oversight. So I've kind of set the stage for the next item.
Yes, you have. Any questions first from the group? All right, next item, to our Director of Information Technology Services on AI guidelines and Microsoft Copilot agents.
Thank you. I'm just going to. Here, come to the, away from the kids' table, here. Do both at the same time. So, thank you for giving me time to show you some of the work that we're working towards. So this is a slight dexterity check, but here we go. So AI and LRSD. So what does that mean? And it's been a conversation for quite some time. We've taken our time on trying to make sure we get this right. It is very tricky because it is a moving target. If anybody says to you, I know where this is going, I know what to do, they're either delusional or they're not being honest with you, and you probably don't want to keep talking to them because it's not probably an honest conversation. It is such a moving target. This visual here, it's probably the least impressive visual, but it actually is telling a bit of a story here. So this is showing you survey data of our staff. And from left to right, the bar graphs represent how many staff are in these different stages. And there's 5 stages: experience, momentum, governance, competence. And what this is showing is and there's a purple little wall there in between, right after governance. What this is showing you is that the majority of our staff, in this case teachers probably, are on the left. They are still in the experience, the wonderment phase of what AI is. And then there's momentum, and you can see those words there kind of describe what each of those phases are. Momentum is the fun stage. It's the innovation side of things. And then you hit governance. And that's when you start to think about, hey, what should I be doing here with the data? Or what privacy should I be considering? And then you have this wall. Because on the others, it's a very tricky thing. Because what governance is what you saw in your agenda is one level of governance is the AI guidelines. Data governance, which Marnie Wilson will be speaking at a different board meeting, is also very, very important. Because when you talk about AI, you're talking about this artificial intelligence, which has been around for decades, that's exploding right now, and data, which is also very important. Data governance is also very important. We should have been talking about data governance probably 20 years ago, but now, because of AI, we are talking about it more now. At the very end is leadership. And leadership, either as an admin in the building, as a teacher in their class, we all have a role in leadership. And to get to leadership, you have to kind of go through all of these phases. And it is quite the journey. And you can see that's where our lowest amount of staff are. So what I want to talk to you about today is I want to show you, we're not going to go through the guidelines. It's 34 pages long. I don't expect, we are not doing that right now. I want to give you a representation of what those guidelines are about. I want to do some hands-on demo, as Christian alluded to, about some AI agents that we're building that I think is very, very important that you know what those are. And as I show this to you, I want you to keep one thing in mind. In Louisville, the stance that we're taking is that the use of AI is an extension of your role. Meaning you can use AI to do whatever your role in LRSD is. And that includes sharing the data with our AI, because we're not using, as Christian said, a public-facing AI. We're using an education enterprise level AI, which is encrypted. And we already entrust, in this case, Microsoft. Many school divisions in Manitoba also entrust Google. We have very robust agreements. We already entrust our data with them in our OneDrive, SharePoint. All the systems that we have is in the hands of these large providers. So there is an inherent trust. Just like you have a trust in your banking system, Because all of those ones and zeros that are your finances are not stored, at the St. Vital branch of CIBC behind the mall. No, it's in a data center somewhere in the globe. It's the same idea. So, let me see if I can manage this little dictionary. What does this all mean? Okay, so I'm not opening up the guidelines. Instead, this is what these guidelines are about. So, secure. AI governance or AI guidelines is about making sure that we're secure. The biggest thing I was worried about is creating a list of rules that says, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. We do that so much in IT. And then it just becomes, it becomes just this list of things that you can't do, and it leads to then people wanting to go around the system. And now we're shadow IT trying to catch it. It's not a good scenario, and that's not what this is about. So then the guidelines are about support. How can we support you to help you do your job? So that's why we're saying it's about enabling, not about restricting. Yes, there are rules, but it's about showing you the benefits of these rules. And in this case, when I show you the agents, it's about the agents have the governance document that 34-page document, it's embedded inside of it. So they don't have to really fully read the document. If they just in the act of using our AI, they are falling inside the guardrails of what this policy is all about, which is a very important thing. And it also avoids policy paralysis. And I will admit, I felt that I was in that bit of a trap as I was trying to create this guideline. But once we came up with the idea of like Copilot is an extension of you, things really started to kind of come into place because you have high level uses of AI, high impact, high value, and very low level uses of AI. On the screen right now is a very low use value AI. I put those guidelines into an AI and said, give me a like 5 or 6 page story of the guidelines. That's very low level. High level is I'm going to demonstrate in a few minutes. So secure environments, like I said, we trusted Microsoft for years, and Copilot is part of Microsoft, so it's just an extension of it. And so again, the accountability hasn't changed. So what the guidelines really state is, it's not about what information you should or shouldn't give Copilot. It's what do you do with that information once Copilot gives you some valuable insight? And you shouldn't be like emailing it to your colleagues. That's what data governance is about. It's about protecting the insights that you get after having that conversation. What do you do with that information? That's what governance is all about. And so then the agents built inside the governance. I'll be demonstrating that in a second. And equity. And so the agents that you're going to see here is about equity. In other words, the agents that we have, I'm going to be demoing one called Atlas, which we built. It has consumed every single curriculum document from the province, every single support document from the province, everything about Indigenous education, differentiated instruction, you name it. Even I think even the whole Education Act, it has it all because nobody has time to read any of these documents, but Atlas does. And so when you ask it questions, it's always referencing these documents. You'll see it in action in a second. So, and the equity part is EAL students, students who would benefit from differentiated instruction. These are things that we've known in education for decades. Atlas puts this in action. So it's also reinforcing best practice. Again, hopefully you will see that I think probably right now would be a good time. So let me get, sorry, Christian, I'm gonna need you just to, thank you, sir. You are a gentleman. I just need to get this going. All right, why can't I find your agent? I can't find it. I'll get there. Live demos are so much fun. Are you serious right now? Copilot's right there. There it is. Thank you. Thanks, Ron. Okay. So What is an agent? So an agent is not just talking to Copilot. And I will admit, this is where it gets tricky because you saw in that first diagram, that purple wall there, and you have people that are already doing great things and very innovative things with any AI. The tricky part is they might say, well, yeah, but I'm using Claude, or I'm using Gemini, or I'm using ChatGPT. It's way better than Copilot. I'm not going to argue that. But it's not about the tool. But because we've made agents that are tuned towards high level, which means specific needs. In other words, our agents are tuned towards staff wellness. What are the big things that are happening to teachers, administration, student service, the team, clinicians, psychologists? What are the things that they are not able to do day to day that's dragging them down because of just the reality of work? How can we develop an agent that can help? And now that trumps what is the best tool. It doesn't matter because we are building agents that are way, way better. So what is an agent? An agent has two components. It has instructions, which we create, which is basically its personality, how it behaves. And the second layer is the knowledge, which we control. So I said I put all of those documents. That was fun, actually, trying to find all. There isn't one vault of documents that you get from the website from Miko. It's a treasure hunt. We found them all, and that's the knowledge. So again, we can control that as well. And so, if I click here, so what is Atlas? What does it actually? The name Atlas represent? I made this agent and I asked it, what do you want to call itself? And so I should know what the acronym is, but right now, as I'm going to, I can't quite think of it. So like any good cooking show, if this takes too long, I have some things off to the side that I can show you in a second here. But hopefully this will maybe not. Okay, that's fine. We will do this. So it was about to write. It was about to write. Atlas is about, that doesn't matter. What we're going to focus here is how can Atlas help me as a team? So this is, what does it mean to me? So this is about creating lessons. It's about creating, getting advice on how do I prepare for, a test or an assessment. How do I create an engaging activity? How can I transform a lesson that I've used for the past 20 years into something that's better for my students? How can I do something as simple as I have 3 students that are into my class. They don't speak English. What do I do? And this is what's really important because I was a classroom teacher. I remember having students from Mexico come into my classroom, my exchange program, didn't speak English. I was lost. And none of us, wake up in the morning and say, I want to do the worst job I can today. Because at times we get overwhelmed because there's so much going on. So the font, I wish I could make that bigger for you, but I can't. But basically what it says is, so Atlas is a curriculum-aware planning partner. It's a lesson designer. It helps with differentiation, which helps with inclusion. And it doesn't just focus on the learners that are struggling. It also focuses on learners that are excelling. So in other words, if you ask it, say, here's an old assignment that I've used for the past 3 years. I want to make it more inclusive for all learning types. It won't just focus on the struggling learners. It will also focus on your people who are excelling as well and give you strategies. It is a safeguard. Now, this thing is, it's a safeguard for any AI easy assignments. This is about changing assessments. There's no magic glue here. It's really all about good education or good pedagogical things that have been in place for decades, wrapped up in a nice little package here for it. It's also an assistant, not a decision maker. And it's not a vending machine of assignments. I don't want you to think of it like this. That's not what this is about. It is really about this colleague that can sit next to you the Cliff Clavin of education that can sit there and knows everything, but it's right, it's not wrong, like Cliff Clavin was, all you who watch Cheers, thank you, Pam, for laughing. But it's there to help you to bounce ideas off you, all right? So, let me give you a demo. So for example, I'm gonna say, also, one other thing, it has been trained to understand based on the first prompts, whether you are an advanced AI user or a novice, or even if you are somebody who is actually struggling. For example, if I were to say, I need help, I'm feeling overwhelmed with this, its response will be very, take a breath, you got this. Like it will really bring you down to that level. Because if you ask for something and it starts giving out this reams of information, that's just going to add to your anxiety. It's not helpful. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to say, I need. Sorry, I realize I can't type without looking at the screen. I'm sorry, Jamie. I am back here. I'm so sorry. I'm going back to the kids' table. I can't do this. 1 second.
You have to type for 2 seconds.
All right. So I'm just saying, I need help with my grade 9 science class on cells. I'm totally lost. So I'm hopefully it's going to pick up on that little dynamic that this person is not doing so well right now. And just stay away, Jamie. I'm just going to be back.
Just stay away.
So let's see what Atlas says here. And if it takes too long, like I said, I have some
It's working.
I have some pre-lessons made here. So again, take a breath. Everything's normal. And here's what AI is going to do. It's going to start very broad. It's going to give you some very wide angle stuff. And then it's slowly going to, with more prompts, bring you down to say like what unit, what topic, and everything else. And everything that it's provided here also is tied to the mental curriculum, as I already said. So it knows that cells is part of the grade 9 curriculum, and it starts giving suggestions of like what you could be doing for assignments, what you could do for student tasks, again, making it AI resistant, et cetera, et cetera. And it always ends with a follow-up question. So it never lets you just stop there. It wants to keep probing, to keep help you get deeper into the what you're trying to do. Let me show you something else that's a little bit more profound. And if I do a search here. So I want to say grade 5. So let's say I'm a grade 5 teacher and I have a ton of students that are obsessed with Pokemon. So do I ban the Pokemon cards or do I embrace it? So it's up here saying, I have my kids are crazy about Pokemon. How can I incorporate this into my math lesson? And I was absolutely blown away by what it did here. Because basically the conversation leads to, it starts talking to me, and this is my question, saying, so what math unit do you want to tie this to? Now, I don't teach grade 5 math, I never have, but it starts suggesting, these different math clusters where this idea of integrating Pokemon could be best infused. And so if I go down, and so it's giving lots of suggestions, and finally I ask it, which one would you recommend? And it says stats and probability. Now, my son's crazy about Pokemon, so once I heard that, it made total sense because he's throwing the ball and talking about the probability of him catching his Pokemon and the battle, and I'm like, I'm absolutely blown away by what he knows about how he's doing math on his own. So now as a teacher, I'm leveraging this in a way that I can actually be, have an engaging lesson design with my kids. That's one example. Another one could be, let's go beyond just classroom. So here's one where I taught chemistry, grade 11, 12 chemistry. I took from my binder a 20-year-old worksheet on acid bases, titrations, and I uploaded it into Atlas. And I said, So it's just a standard worksheet of like problem solving, math. And I said, can you turn this into a murder mystery hands-on lab for me? And it said, absolutely. And so what it did is it digested my worksheet, which is old school stuff. Aligned it with all of these curriculum SLOs. And it created this murder mystery stoichiometry. And it held my hand down to asking me how long are each of my periods, and do I have enough burettes? Like that's the level of integration that this, 1 or 2 classes gave me the script. Now, I don't have to just digest this and say, okay, I'm totally releasing human judgment here or professional judgment. That's not what this is. This is the starting point. Me I understand curriculum. I can then adapt, change, what have you. But this is that first nudge into making my boring old worksheet way more engaging, way more hands-on, and obviously way more fun. One other one I'll show you is, it's not just about the classroom. It is also about we have another agent. It's called Leap. And this is for our students who have multi-language learners, or EAL students, who don't speak English or don't speak it very well. Here's the problem. And so I spent a ton of time talking to student services teams. I've learned a lot. And what I learned is the amount of report writing that they have to do is unbelievable. And this is about wellness and about being seen and heard. So imagine, so here's what AI doesn't do is AI does not do this assessment. So what this document here, I fed in, this is all fake data. This is my daughter who's in grade 12 at Dakota, but it says that she's in grade 10. But this document that you see on the screen here, and it has all of these assessment checkboxes, that's done by the student services team. They meet with the student and they assess. AI has no business in here and it doesn't. But this is a very long assessment. What there is from the province is a curriculum guide and a rubric that says, how do you evaluate this assessment? And so that's where AI comes into play. So I've uploaded that document that I just showed you, and I've asked it, LEAP has in its knowledge center all of the curriculum plus all of the mandatory requirements for this report that student service team has to do. And I said, can you please take this assessment based upon the guideline from the province, create for me this report that you see on your screen. It takes about 3 or 4 minutes. Again, they have to then read it, agree with it, change as necessary. That doesn't go away. But we've just taken away massive blocks of time that would be about writing the report when it's the assessment. Now, why do you write the report? Because the report then goes to the teacher and says, here's the plan for, in this case, cadence. Here's the other problem. The teacher gets the report and says, they might read it. They might be too busy. It might be sitting over here. And that's a whole part about being seen and heard. And I heard this from student services saying, we make reports. We don't know if it's being actually implemented into the class. So imagine, this is what now I've shown you LEAP, which is here. And you can see here, it's building out this report here. It's also creating a machine version. You see down here. I'll talk about it in a second. It also allows you to create a 1-page summary for home, basically telling the guardians, this is what we're doing for your child. Of course, if the student doesn't speak English, probably, the guardians don't as well. In this fake demo here, this is actually, my daughter speaks Mandarin, doesn't, spoiler alert. But then it will also then immediately translate this into Mandarin that you can send home with the other letter. I checked translation, it's spot on. So, but back to this machine part here. This is what you can then tell the teacher, okay, remember, this is LEAP. Student Services built the report over here. They give that machine version to the teacher. The teacher, you might want to guess what they're going to do with it? Load it into Atlas and say, I'm teaching grade 10 science. I've just been handed this plan to help Cadence with her, become learn English. And so what Atlas does is says, I got you. It understands what LEAP has done. And then it takes this report and then it helps the teacher create strategies and the framework to actually create a lesson plan or plans that are enacted in what LEAP suggested. Sorry, what the Student Services team suggested with LEAP's assistance. And so I'm back in Atlas. I'm around wheeling back and forth. I apologize for that, but this is where now this is me taking LEAP's recommendations, putting into Atlas, and now Atlas is saying, okay, we're going to help you create proper programming for Katie so that she is also successful in your class. That when we provide this 1-2 punch here for teachers, like Student Services are ecstatic because they say, hey, this is great because we have insurance, this is going to be enacted. And teachers are saying, oh, thank goodness, because I know curriculum. I'm not really an expert in, language recovery or whatever you want to call that proper process. But I understand this because I know my curriculum, and now Atlas is saying, I'm going to help you implement that plan. So we're building, like this is again, back to wellness. This brings down these things that are piling up that are just day-to-day stuff. This is where these high-level uses where AI can actually make a massive impact on people. And I'll be honest, when I walk down the hallways in school, when I would hear, hey, I want to talk to you, I would walk faster. Usually wasn't that going to be a good conversation. But now it's much better because they're saying, I just use Atlas and it saved me X. Which is, and we're hearing it over and over and over again. And just to finish this off is, and we're building more agents. Marnie, when she presents next, she'll be talking about Clara, which is about report card comment writing. Again, AI is not just building it out of randomness. There's 9 steps of data that teachers have to provide that then presents true comments that are reflective of their learning. I just wanted to find my mouse and show you the uses. I sent this to you. So just to give you a perspective, so these agents, Atlas was first, it was released just at Dakota Collegiate in the beginning of February. It's now, in the past month or so, it's been live for all teachers. And you can see here that Atlas has 334 unique users have embraced it so far. What's interesting here is that Friday seems to be the peak time when they use Atlas. Also heavy uses on Sundays. And what's also really interesting is the time of day. You have people using Atlas very, very early on in the morning sometimes. Any guesses why that might be? Yes, they're sick. And now they have this, they're not just pulling out something out of a binder, which I used to do. They're actually creating fresh content that has, I think, higher value. A lot in the evening. And the other agent that's our second most popular is Clara, which is the report card writer. That has only been launched at Dakota and a few other schools, I believe. But Marnie will tell you more about this. She presents. But that's why you're only seeing 54 unique. It's only Dakota. Why you're seeing only 54 unique users out of 70 teachers, that's actually a pretty high use. So we're seeing extreme purpose. And actually, for only, actually put my mind to shame because, you know, only 54 users are using it, 2,300 times. That's actually quite profound. So, hope you understand like what these are about. These agents have governance built in. So it's secure, it's safe. And they have direct purpose. Like this is about making impact and we're doing more. We got one coming, it's called Andy for now. And it's about policy. So that anybody can type in saying, what do I do about, anything, any conflict or just any question they have, it will direct it through the policy. And now it cannot go out and about and make stuff up because we tell it, you don't have access to the internet, you only have access to these policy documents. You can only go here. And there's more coming. So anyway, so one that we hope to get is called Chalk. It would be for students. But it never gives the answer. It only uses the Socratic method where it prompts and prompts. So, but that's a much harder one to build, and so it will be some time. So that's AI in Luria. For now.
Trustee Norentine is right on the edge here.
Well, I'm just stunned he had a binder from 20 years still. Like, I couldn't get past that.
I've kept all my, I kept all my chemistry. I'll bring it for show and tell.
Well, I mean, it's overwhelming in terms of the possibilities and the fact that you're seeing such a positive reaction right out of the, that's not usually the case. Usually there's a lot of fear and resistance, and I don't see that or hear that in this conversation. So, I mean, it's pretty exciting. If I was writing 300 report cards again, I'd be pretty darn happy about this opportunity. That's for sure.
Questions from the group, Trustee Simonyola?
Yeah, I have two questions. One of them goes back to the bar graph that was shown earlier, kind of showing the progression of the response. How many people were surveyed for that? I'm just trying to.
Sorry,
how many people were surveyed for that?
430-ish so far is the response rate.
Okay, I mean, it's very close to the use of the atlas. That's what I want to find out. The second piece is obviously this is not like generative AI. This is an agent bot that's already taught in a sense that you have given it information that people can prompt and people can ask questions, prompt it, and they will give out suggestions. I guess my question is like, there was a demo there about Pokemon. So my understanding is that you teach the agent, but it has access to outside information. It just so it doesn't give our information, make it available to anybody outside of this sphere, right?
Right, so you can control how much activity that you want the agent to have, outside influence or not. So if something like policy, it would have no outside influence, it's just internal documents. Atlas does have access to the internet, but then you have rules, you have instructions that say you cannot make stuff up, and it has grounding elements. The instructions are, there's an art form to how you make these instructions, but it's grounded into a reality. It says you have to follow these steps and you cannot sway. And when you put those in, now you have to test and retest and retest. But once you get it locked down properly, then it works very, very well. And it says like it follows the path that it has to put in. Like I don't have time to show you, but I did one where I said in Atlas, I want to do string theory physics with my grade 9 science class, and they all read at a grade 3 level. I want to do a thesis statement. Like it was just a ridiculous type prompt into Atlas. And Atlas said, very gently, you need to reconsider what you're doing, and it says why. And so like it's not going to argue with you, but it's going to nudge you into the right direction. So I'm not sure if I answered your question directly, but it's all about the training, and it's all about like the knowledge and then the instructions.
Yeah.
And those are the 1-2 components that really make it act the way you want it to make.
Yeah, and I understand its value. I guess what I was going with the question is, Atlas is taught, you put in, here's a curriculum and put all the rules around. But and then if you go to LIP and get this machine style output that you put in there to help you, and then or you put in an assignment from 20 years ago. Is the machines now Atlas learning that for the future? Okay, that because my understanding is that obviously AI continues to learn.
No.
Things evolving.
Yes.
That was what I wanted clarity on.
Yes,
I
no.
think that becomes an
Thank
issue,
you.
but if that's not an issue,
Thank you, sorry, I misunderstood. No, so every conversation that you have is contained between you and that one instance of that agent. And once you hit new conversation, all of that context is between you and that agent, and it's siloed over here, and it has nothing to do with the next conversation that even you had. So if you had a conversation here, and then 10 seconds later hit new conversation, anything that you did over here, this new conversation that you're having, it has no context or no memory of what you just did over by design. It's not learning like that. It's learning based on what it knows. It's not learning off of what other experiences. So there's no cross-pollination between different users. There's no cross-pollination between you as a user and the other conversations that you had 10 minutes or 10 days ago. Those are isolated and they are vaulted, and that's it.
okay, yeah, you have addressed my concern around bandwidth too and storage versus agreement is if that's sticking around, then that would be, that would cost us
Exactly.
some more.
Yes. Yeah, exactly, because what you're describing there is then it could start, it's like a runaway train.
Yeah, I think you understand what my concern was. I'm glad you clarified.
Yeah, yeah,
for sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Trustee Palmquist?
Thank you, Clark. I want to say that presentation and your approach and philosophy towards the use of AI in schools is much more grounded and moderate than the first exposure I had to a serious conversation about AI in education was at the Canadian School Boards Association conference in Toronto 2 years ago, where from what I can tell, like an AI industry saleswoman or something came up on stage and gave this big speech about how we should be all using AI in every element of our lives, up including selecting what breakfast cereal to have in the morning. And I had some alarm bells at the time going off, and I think the conversation has evolved in a much more thoughtful and structured direction, I think, since that hype moment. And I appreciate that. I also like what you have to say about the tools being developed in terms of prompt-based but non-answers to questions. I used my own personal ChatGPT subscription extensively as a study aid in my university courses. But doing so in such a way that I actually learned something required a considerable level of discipline of my own, especially when it came to things that aren't tests, where the tool is freely available to me, to use it in such a way as I wasn't responding to the natural human incentive to cheat, which is always present in all of our minds. I think that the direction ultimately I hope that we continue to go, and it sounds like this is as the broad possibilities of what AI can do, numerous examples of its power. I hope that where we are going and where we end up is with a rather not restricted, but a rather specific set of use cases and norms and standards around how they are used. I mean, I look into the history of human technology, and at each stage of development, it ultimately boils down to finding a way to take what was once a physical or animal labor and make it easier. And it's a bold new era that we're entering, where that labor that is easier is the labor of thought and the labor of the mind. And which has enormous potential, but also huge, potentially dire ramifications for the long term. And I hope that we maintain a mindset of expanding thought and expanding utilization within within very strict bounds, where we aren't leading ourselves into giving away more and more of our power of thought to machines for this, and drawn by a constant siren song of temptation, things easier, which all human beings experience. And so I'm very encouraged by what I heard today. I'm amused by your characterization of Copilot as not the best, but I find it very funny in closing that Microsoft has so profoundly changed their image in the public consciousness away from when the dawn of computing started to today being thought of as the safe and responsible option is really like an astounding turnaround for that company. So bravo to Microsoft and to you. And I would close by quoting the comments by the actual CEO, Copilot, widely publicized remarks that he made earlier last year, where he said, it's important that we find an actual use for AI soon, so that we don't lose social license to continue using energy in its development. And I think that it's a shockingly blunt comment, but also accurate. And I think that it's incumbent on not just the developers and proponents of AI, but the users as well, to make sure that we are driving towards concrete use cases and applications at all times in our unrolling of these technologies.
Exactly. This is not about a shiny tool.
Yeah.
This is about what are the problems, what are the workplace things that you need help with?
Yeah.
And then we're designing to help them with those specific things that are, and that's going to continue, because people are seeing this now and they're saying, what about this? And they're giving great feedback. And it's like, yes, that not everything is a home run, but things that they are coming up with, like, these are things that they have. One of the student service teachers said, if I can have LEAP and Atlas work in this way, I'm supposed to be making connections with students. I'm busy writing reports. Connection with students is over here on the side of my desk. This could actually flip that. And it was a very emotional statement. And it was a fantastic meeting to have with them, because they were, you just know it's gonna have a positive impact.
Any other questions on this item? All right, seeing none,
There is a French immersion that was launched today, I should also say.
I was gonna ask about building a governance one, but we can talk about that.
Sure. Atlas French immersion launched
Oh, cool.
in beta
That's
today
awesome.
with one school.
Okay, well, I know this is an ongoing topic, and congratulations on what you're creating. The buy-in is obviously there, and we look forward to learning along with all of you, although a few steps behind, and seeing where it goes. This is where we're at. This is the future. Item 7.3, workplace safety and health, third quarter report through the superintendent to Assistant Superintendent Gunther.
That's what everyone's been waiting for. So first of all, thank you to Teresa Niedermeyer for preparing this report for this evening. During the Q3 time, the committee focused on incident prevention, provincial inspection activity, and strengthening divisional services. We reviewed Q2 incident trends and identified the need to improve the quality and consistency of reporting data, with ongoing work to enhance the incident report form and investigation practices. Provincial workplace safety and health inspections were a major focus this quarter, with improvement orders issued across several sites. All were addressed and defined. So here's where I would like to pause and just say a big thank you to those folks who were involved in doing the work. As soon as we get a provincial improvement order, we have a certain amount of time to address it. And so I want to say thanks to Teresa and to folks in facilities, particular Mark Ruria, who's a project manager, Marcel Saltel, who's manager of facilities, Eric Thompson, manager of custodial services, Jay McGurran, co-chair, president of LRCA, because it really takes a lot of time and attention to detail, and folks, custodians, and officials. The goal here is to keep our buildings safe for staff and students. So just a really big thank you. Committee also addressed broader system issues such as work order prioritization, first aid training, and well-being initiatives, including a review of Guarding Minds data. Overall, Q3 showed solid progress in compliance and prevention, with Q4 priorities focused on seasonal risks, inspection follow-up, and continued improvement to data quality.
Thank you. Questions on the report? You've all seen it. Right, seeing none, we will move to policy. We have one policy for first reading, and I will turn to Assistant Superintendent Anderson for context.
Very good, thank you. Policy IKEAA, Academic Honesty, comes before you this evening for first reading. The need for policy in this area emerged through the Data Governance Committee's work on artificial intelligence. The draft policy aligns provincial direction on assessment, evaluation, and reporting with its Indigenous education policy framework, Mama Tuaswin, the wonder we are born with. This links directly to multi-year strategic plan actions 3.1 and 3.3. The policy establishes clear expectations for ethical learning across the division, emphasizing honesty, originality, and responsible use of sources and digital tools, including artificial intelligence. It recognizes that learning includes making and correcting mistakes and promotes age-appropriate, educational, and restorative responses when concerns arise. The policy places responsibility on teachers to design authentic learning tasks that reduce the likelihood of academic dishonesty and to model ethical learning practices through everyday classroom instruction. The version of the policy before you this evening was reviewed by Kelsey Lanahan, Mark Hagan, and Nicholas Kelly, Nicole Major, Megan Van Konet, Marnie Wilson, and the 4 assistant superintendents. Next steps in the policy development process include seeking feedback from the broader divisional community. To this end, principals and vice principals provided feedback at the April leadership team meeting. An opportunity for staff to provide feedback is planned for next week's monthly staff meeting. Members of the public listening this evening can watch our website for an opportunity to provide feedback as well. The policy will return for second and third reading prior to the end of the school year.
So the motion is then that policy IKEAA, Academic Honesty, reviewed by the Policy Review Committee, receive first reading and be further reviewed in committee and brought back for second and third reading at a future date. So I need a seconder, please. Trustee Bjornson, Trustee Walker. Questions on the motion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you. Back to you for some revisions, policy revisions.
Thank you. The updated student services transportation protocol is being brought to trustees for information this evening. The protocol now reflects current processes in Power School. Training has been provided to student services teachers who will soon be submitting personalized transportation plans for the upcoming school.
All right, so those revisions are attached. Questions on any of these? Great, seeing none, thank you. Item 9 is correspondence. Trustees will have had an opportunity to look through correspondence. There's some from the Education Funding Branch, also some from MSBA regarding the e-bulletin, and includes executive highlights from the March 18th meeting. Any referrals to any of these at all? Okay, then turning to action items, item 10. 10.1, balanced school day at Darwin School through the superintendent to assistant superintendent Kaplick.
Thank you. I had the opportunity to walk alongside Darwin School through the administrative protocol, balanced school day planning considerations, supporting policy ID. And within that, communication was first communicated with staff, followed by communication with parents with an opportunity to reach out if they had questions or concerns. As well as both PAC, well, for both schools, PAC attached a letter of support as well. I'm not going to spend time here going through the benefits of both administrators also connected with colleagues who have had balanced school days in their schools for some time and are very aware of the considerations. We've taken a look also at ensuring we have enough time, and we're breaking down sort of minute by minute each curricular area to ensure that everything is being covered during this time. And so from my perspective, both schools have done an amazing job in alerting their community as well as working alongside their staff to make this happen.
So the recommendation and proposed motion then is that the board approve Darwin School's request to adopt a balanced school day model commencing in 26-27 school year. Need a mover and seconder, please. Trustee Walker, second. Trustee Kolachek. Questions on the motion? Trustee Walker?
I'm gonna make a comment. I'm in my first year of a balanced school day at my school, and it's amazing. Happy to see two schools.
Any other questions? Trustee Bjornson?
Just curious, how many schools currently in our division use the balanced school day?
Good question.
That's a great question.
Readily available.
Okay, I got
So
one.
we'll get it to you.
I can't even.
Quite a few.
Yeah.
And, yeah,
No, it's a curiosity.
ever evolving, and that's a good question.
He's thinking, he's
We'll
gonna have
look
the
at
answer
that.
for us right away. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Trustee Nordheim?
How have schools that have the balanced school day, no matter how many, how is the substitution?
Yeah, well, that's the one
Premise,
area that
yeah.
is a challenge. And so ideally, the whole of the system would be in a balanced school day. And I think slowly but surely we're getting there. That's the only thing you have to be cognizant of when thinking of substitute teachers and making sure they're but we're finding solutions to that. And I think the solution is, again, it's data and having data informed tools to help with job selection.
Thank you. Trustee Walker, follow up?
I was just gonna give Irene a bit of insight. So I was out in the classrooms at ED. So I left my classroom at 12:10. I already had a lesson going and the student was working on something as the substitute came into the room to take over. All the stuff I packed up and I left, whereas in the past I would have left at lunch and the substitute would sort it out. But we see as long as the person's able to make it there on time, that's kind of the sticking point. Is if they're at a school on the other side of the division and they're coming over to us. Bit tricky. Worked really well.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 10.2, balanced school day at Highbury School. Do you want to add any further context?
Same thing, consulted with community, consulted with staff, reached out, spent time in some of the other schools who have been doing this, and also a letter of support from the PAC.
Great, thank you. So then the motion is that the board approve Highbury School's request to adopt a balanced school day model commencing in 26-27 school year. Mover and a seconder, Trustee Bjornson, Trustee Walker. Questions on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? And the motion is carried. Thank you. This brings us to public question period. So we have some time to answer any questions on items that were on the agenda. We'll start online. Any hands up? Right, going over to the corner. Any questions, folks?
Just a comment.
Questions on items on the agenda?
Yes,
Anna?
absolutely. I just wanted to thank the board this evening for instituting, I believe this was the first evening, the public question period at the beginning of the meeting, particularly when there are action items that are being voted on. I think that's really paramount and a great step for improving community engagement. For example, Corey had there have been some Highbury or Darwin folks who maybe weren't part of these PAC conversations or for whatever reason had concerns or objections. That would have been their, I'm gonna call it their 11th hour to address their concerns to the board here this evening. So I think it's really important. Also, if there's folks, when there's an action item that's had a notice of motion and maybe they weren't aware of it or kind of came late to the party, it's really an important piece. So I thank you for that. I think Trustee Bjornson made a comment, it might have been last meeting. I think the statement was, leave the board better than how you found it. So knowing that this is the tail end of a 4-year mandate, I think this is a really important piece for community engagement, and I appreciate it. Thank you. That's it.
No question?
Do you want one?
It's question period, so
No,
that's
but
fine.
Thank you.
All right, we are adjourned then at 8:55. I need the trustees for about 15 minutes, please.